Hey everybody, Ryan McCaffrey with IGN. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Hayden Blackman, the studio head and creative director on Mafia III. Perfect timing with the logo. Look at that.
Yeah.
Synergy. It's great to have you, Hayden. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So this is actually the first time that the general public is getting a look at some extended gameplay of Mafia III. You showed off more or less this, behind closed doors to the media at Gamescom.
That's right.
Which is where all the preview coverage, including that on IGN, came from. But it's great to actually see it. So this is, I have never seen this before.
Right.
This is me seeing it. So I guess the before I start just reacting to things, go ahead and just catch us up. Gamescom was a little while ago now. Elevator pitch version, go.
Sure. So in Mafia 3, you play a guy named Lincoln Clay. The time is 1968 in our version of New Orleans. So you can see here, this is Lincoln moving down our version of Bourbon Street in this southern city, very iconic southern city here. Again, one of the things you'll notice about Lincoln, potentially by the shirt he's wearing, he's a Vietnam vet. So he's just returned from Vietnam when the events of the game begin. So he is a trained soldier, and that really gives him an edge when he takes on the mob, which is one of the kind of key components of the story. Lincoln's also a criminal. Before he went to Vietnam, he was part of the Black Mob, again in our version of New Orleans.
Yeah.
When he comes back, he falls back in with the Black Mob, and through the course of the game, they get betrayed by the Italian mob. So here, this takes place about 2/3 of the way through the game. Lincoln is on his mission to take down the Italian mob and build a new mob kind of on the ashes of the old, build a new family. And one of the ways he's doing that is by taking down various criminal rackets. So he's learned throughout the course of the game that there is a drug dealing operation going on in the back alleys of the French Ward and places like this cemetery. And he can go ahead and head into the cemetery and hunt down informants to find out information about the mob and the racket, maybe get involved in a little bit of a firefight, all in the process of working his way up to some of the crime bosses that run the drug operation in the city.
Right. So now I'm a big fan of the series. Illusion Softworks did the first two games, and now, but it's been taken in-house here at your studio at Hangar 13, which is a lot of former 2K Marin folks. And what have you sort of tried to keep from the first two games, and what sort of have you made a concerted attempt to kind of evolve and update or change?
Sure, yeah. So again, we're all very, we're watching all this combat. It's kind of hard to focus. So one of the things you'll notice about Lincoln, I think, right away is that, again, he does move like a soldier. One of our mantras on the team is own the battlefield. So we really want you to feel like you move like a trained soldier, that you can use that training to take on large groups of mobsters.
Lefty.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things we learned when we were doing research.
He's ambidextrous.
With some combat vets, and that's one of the first things they learn is to shoot with both hands, so that they never expose themselves out of cover. There's another new mechanic that we have in the game that's new to the franchise, which is what we call drive like a madman. It's a way to interrogate informants. So here we'll throw this guy in the car and drive like a madman. But when we're talking about driving here, this is a good maybe segue into one of the things that we really tried to keep true to Mafia 2. So I think Mafia 2 is known for its really engaging story, and I believe that we have a pretty strong narrative in the game. Again, focusing on this character who's an orphan and a Vietnam vet and trying to find a new family. We also wanted to create a sense of time and place, so hopefully the city feels like our version of New Orleans. And then the driving model is still very much a physics-based driving model, but we did push the boundaries a little bit. We want you to feel like you're a stuntman in a Hollywood action movie. So some of the reactions are a little bit outsized. We'll see a little bit later some a little bit of car combat that we really tried to focus on and make sure that was accessible. The other thing that we tried to do is make sure that everything was integrated. So it's truly an open world game in the sense that you are out exploring the open world and engaging in the criminal ecosystem of this open world. Here's an example of that where I've learned that this drug den through the course of that interrogation is actually hidden underneath this jazz club called the Big Mouth Jazz Club. And this is what we call a public facing hideout. So if I head in here and I get noticed by the patrons because I'm waving a gun around or I'm getting involved in a fight, they might call the cops. There I just kind of got told to move along by the mobster, so I'm going to try and find a back entrance here. I could have gone in guns blazing there, but that would have attracted a lot of attention and the cops. But that's something I could do if I had maybe muscle with me or was better armed.
Ooh. No. That might have been an overreaction.
That's an example of one of our takedowns in the game. So you unlock those as you go throughout the game.
But yeah, I mean, I have actually played. Like I said, I've reviewed both the first two games, and really, I was a big fan of both, Mafia 2 in particular. But the two things that sort of stood out for me on one of the plus sides for Mafia 2 was just the unbelievable art direction, and I'm already seeing that here, like some amazing lighting. This just the sort of the light mist haze.
Right.
It really looks like that technologically here you're just pushing a lot of atmosphere into the game, which I like a lot. And then on the flip side, the kind of the big downside for me to more lighting here to Mafia 2 was that it was a great story. It's set in this open world, but it was like there wasn't a lot to do in that open world. So are you guys looking to rectify that this time around?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of our, again, very first pillars was how do we make sure you feel like you are in an open world that you can explore, that you can engage with, but how do we do it in a way that makes you feel like you're always making forward progress? So everything we do is kind of connected to Lincoln's quest to take down the mob or rebuild his own, kind of criminal empire. So, whether that is, again, finding guys to interrogate, doing open world activities that help fund your criminal operations, destroying hideouts. We have a number of hideouts in the game. This is an example, actually, of a hideout.
So this is an example of a dead guy right here.
Yeah, right. So we do, we are supporting stalking in the game. That's one of the other kind of mandates for us is we want you to be able to approach these hideouts multiple different ways. So whether that's going in guns blazing or being a little bit more stealthy here, ultimately it all kind of culminates in kind of big takedowns. But we want you to have that ability to kind of stalk your way through as well.
Oof.
Yeah, so there's a character named Doc Gaston who runs this hideout who we have to take out in order to assign this hideout out to one of our guys to take over. So here again, you'll see a little bit of some of our hot combat and Lincoln kind of moving through the space, swapping weapons. We do have kind of a very good weapon churn model where you're encouraged to switch weapons a lot. We do have fairly aggressive AI as well. They will come after you, hunt you down.
I just lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you. I believe I remember an interview with you, possibly even on IGN. Are there multiple endings? Am I remembering that correctly? You guys aiming for sort of some multiple path things here?
Yeah. So again, one of the things that we founded Hangar 13 on was this idea that we really want to build games where people feel that every player story or every player experience is unique. And for me, that's really the joy of working in games and this kind of interactive medium is that we get to allow the player to be kind of co-author in the experience. So whether that's the moment to moment, like here, do I go through stalking? What weapon do I use? Do I use takedowns? Or the way that I decide to dole out territory, which has a big impact in the game. So throughout the course of the game, you recruit 3 lieutenants, and you can assign out territory to them as you go throughout the game. And that will change the way that they interact with you, the types of services they provide to you, and ultimately the endings of the game as well.
Nice.
And the player has some other decisions along the way as well that affect that. Again, really trying to capture a sense of atmosphere, this kind of psychedelic drugged in from the late 60s. That's a big deal for us as well. But the player could have stalked through there. We do encourage you to do some reconnaissance as well. So there are multiple entrances that the player could have discovered.
You knew that was great. What I'm seeing engine-wise here, super impressive. Which Mafia 2's tech was super impressive.
Yeah.
Did you guys take Mafia 2 and just build off that tech, or is this an all-new engine here?
Yeah, so we did build off of some pieces of the tech from Mafia 2. One of the things that we want to make sure it's clear is that we do have a number of folks from Mafia 2 that worked on that game, working on this game. A lot of the artists, for example, when you talk about the great art direction, a lot of that comes from, our lead environment artists who worked on Mafia 2. A lot of the engineers worked on Mafia 2 as well. So we do have a lot of pieces from Mafia 2 that we were able to expand upon. And then there was some stuff we had to build net new, obviously for current gen.
Yeah. This shows how old I am. I called them Illusion Softworks. 2K check, I guess, would be the more modern
I'll take that as
terminology. But
don't fuck this
are there
up.
any sort of? Do you guys address any, any kind of racial sensitivity stuff throughout the game? Because obviously you've got an African American hero and set in a time period and in a place where there were certainly issues there.
Right. Yeah, we do. I mean, we're not shying away from it at all. It is 1968. You are Lincoln's actually mixed race. He's half black and the other half he's unsure of. But that factors into the story. It factors into the narrative. It factors into the way that the world reacts to you, depending on where you're at.
Right.
The police system, in particular, will sometimes react to Lincoln based on where he's at in the world. So we're not shying away from it at all. Again, we're not trying to get up on a soapbox or cure racism here, but if we can get people to think about it, I think we'll have done our job.
That's great. I mean, more games need to do that.
Yeah, and again, some of it's we're trying to be authentic to the time period.
Yeah.
So here, again, action example of a little bit of combat and car combined there. So we really wanted to make shooting from cars accessible. One of the things we did for this demo, because it was our first kind of unveiling of the game, is we wanted to end with a bang. So you will be able to blow up cars in the game, but it will require things like this, grenade launcher. You will be able to do some of those takedowns that we saw earlier as well, but it's not every car is going to explode when you bump into them.
Well, good. I'm glad you've set the expectation.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to make it.
Yeah.
That is a great early look at Mafia 3. What's the general ballpark? What are we aiming for here?
2016.
Just general 2016. We'll be keeping a very close eye on this on IGN. Hayden, thank you very much.
Thank you.